Hey guys, happy Monday. I've done something new this weekend. If you can tell, it lives in or around my head. The pink. It's brand new. I'm still adjusting to it, but ultimately I kind of really like it. Like I said, it brings a little gem out in me, which I really like. But today I was wanting to come to you to talk about the difference between expectations and goals. And the reason why is I've been taking a lot of new steps in my life, and one of the things that I have to be very conscious and careful about is not falling into a trap of trying to tell myself that, declaring action on something and expecting a result versus declaring action on something and taking processes and steps and, planning out a goal, because they're not the same. They're two very different things. And one of the things that we work on in life coaching a lot is declaring. And there is a very slippery slope that you can fall into when you are declaring something about your life. You're stepping up and you're making an announcement, I'm going to do X or X is going to happen. And one of the things that we can very easily fall into is declaring for expectation versus declaring as a goal. So food for thought for y'all. If you are feeling discouraged right now, or like a failure, or anything that you got going on in your life, whether no matter how big or how small it is, I want you to consider something. Get on your thinking caps and consider this. Did you commit to a goal or did you commit to an expectation? So for instance, when we set out, my husband and I, when we set out to become pregnant, it was an expectation that I would become pregnant. We were doing the things, having the sex, all the things everybody else was doing. So we expected to get pregnant. And when I wasn't, and when we didn't get there, the expectation left me feeling worthless. And it's not the unreturned result that left me disappointed. The expectation that I had created in my mind was that we would have the sex, we would do the things, we would have the babies, because that's what everybody else does and everybody else did, saying that loosely. And so they had the baby, so that's my expectation. This should happen. And I had created it in my head. We're going to have the sex, we're going to do the things, and then we're going to have a baby, and that is what is going to happen because that's what I'm expecting to return that result. And to me, that is what should happen. And again, because we were having sex, that was the expectation. And because that's what we wanted and how we wanted it to play out, that was the expectation. Forget the fact that you know and I know that we struggle with infertility. That came later. That has nothing to do with the expectation we set out with on the front end. The declaring expectation. That came much later. Take, for instance, another example, posting on social media, because everybody's doing it today. You post something like random on social media, and the expectation that you have is that people are going to like it. You like it, you put it out there, you're like, hey, I'm feeling this way, I'm going to post it, and everybody's going to like my shit. Or another example is posting your credentials on LinkedIn. You go out there, you post your credentials for a new job, and it's seemingly like just because you showed up to the life party, things are going to happen because you're you. So the expectation is that everyone will respond the way that you think that they should or will be doing. Going back to that first example with the social media posting, the expectation is that because you liked what you're posting, because you find it relevant what you're posting, is that everybody else is going to be like, that is awesome, I love it too, but they don't. Going to the LinkedIn example is that you go in, plug and play the credentials on LinkedIn, type in your credentials, management, this, sales, that, whatever, and you have the expectation that by posting that in LinkedIn, something is going to present itself to you. An opportunity perhaps is going to present itself to you. Or to our example, we showed up, we did the deed, our expectation was that a baby would just come to us. Expectations are not goals. They're not the same. And expectations disappoint us because they lack intention, and they lack flexibility, and they lack focus. The difference between an expectation and a goal is expectation is, it's very similar. You stand up and you're like, I'm doing things and I'm expecting something to happen. versus a goal is making bullet points or time parameters or processes, having intention, having flexibility that things may not go the way that you intend, and having focus to get you toward that goal. And intention, or expectations rather, are the things that leave us feeling disappointed. So for instance, going back to our examples, if you post on social media and you really like what you're posting, but let's say your mom, your Aunt Sally, and your Grandpa Jim are your only audience, and you're expecting everybody else to like your content, to like what you're putting out there, to find it as valuable, intriguing, funny, whatever it is you want it to be as you do, and have a call to action of liking that post, you just having that expectation and showing up to the live party is not going to evoke that action from anybody. Probably ever. Maybe mom, Aunt Sally, and Grandpa Jim, fine. But the difference is if you evaluate your content and you develop a purpose for posting your content, post with intention, post with process and plans and a goal for the outcome, then that changes. It's no longer expectation of everybody liking your shit. It becomes a goal with a purpose and a focus and flexibility that it may take time for people to catch on to what you're doing or like what you're doing and respond. To the next example about the LinkedIn is if you want a new job and you're going out there and you're plugging and playing in the format and you're adding in your resume where you worked and blah, 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 sales this, management that, boring. If you show up and you evaluate what your motivation is, what field you want to be in, what kind of job you want, what kind of workplace environment you want. You revamp your resume, you gear your words towards that field, towards that purpose. You take intentional action and applying for companies that have that role that you like and allow there to be some flexibility, some time lingering for people to see what you're doing and to catch on. That changes. That declarative expectation of, but I went to LinkedIn and I put my stuff in there and nobody wants to play with me, changes. It changes from being an expectation and becomes an active, valuable, process-oriented, intentional-driven goal. Or if you're in our situation with the infertility and you're struggling unsuccessfully to conceive and you're just showing up, doing the thing, having the sex, so putting to get the baby, but nothing is happening, then you may need to reevaluate your process. You may need to prioritize. Do I want to, go see a doctor? Do I want Eastern or Western perspective? And get an evaluation on maybe what you're struggling with and get a plan on how to move forward. It stops becoming about the expectation of, well, everybody else is having sex and getting pregnant. Well, it's everybody else is working for them. Well, everybody else is having babies or things are working out for them, not me. It becomes less of an expectation and becomes more of a goal. Expectations leave us disappointed because there's no process. And we have this feeling of, hey, I showed up to the life party, things are gonna come my way. That becomes an expectation versus you putting in the effort that you want versus the effort that is required. That's what makes it a goal. Expectations can leave us feeling dejected and rejected and like we suck, we're failures, we're worthless. But that's the difference between expectation and a goal. A goal has, allows for time to elapse, for you to work your way towards a process, to set little benchmarks and stop expecting that, well, if I do just a little, then I'll get a lot back. It sets your intention, it sets your motivation, and it gives you focus. And really, it truthfully is so much more helpful than setting out to something and thinking, everyone's gonna like me, or this is gonna work out exactly as I planned, and leaving you so disappointed, versus giving yourself some benchmarks and some goals to hit, some processes to have in play, some focus, some intention, and keep you motivated, moving forward, and patting yourself on the back for these little wins. That's the difference between expectation and rejection, and flexibility for failure and little wins, and winning on goals. So the next time you feel dejected, take a pause. Woosah it on out. Take a step back and look at your disappointment. And then honestly ask yourself, honestly is super key here, because we can lie to ourselves, right? We can tell ourselves, well, I showed up and I posted that picture and that picture was the shit, but nobody liked that, so they suck, not me. That's not getting you anywhere really quickly at all. So honestly ask yourself, am I disappointed because I took action without any real plan, without any real process, without any focus, intention, allowing for flexibility, failures, little benchmark wins along the way, and just expected something to happen because I showed up to the life party? Or you put in the amount of effort that was required that you know in your heart of hearts is representative and indicative of your goal. Don't beat yourself up, man. Not everything happens easily all the time, and sometimes things take time to develop over time. Give yourself a chance to have some wins and lay off and understand the difference between expectation and goals. All right, guys, thank you as always for signing on. I love you so very much. My heart is always with you. Be good to yourself. Allow yourself some grace. Be easy. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Bye.